They threw his belongings into the street at 3 in the afternoon on a Thursday. Chidi Okafor watched from the compound gate as his mother dragged his mattress across the dusty ground, as his worn school uniform slipped out of a torn plastic bag and fell onto the red earth, as neighbors gathered on their verandas to witness a family discarding their son. He was 18, fresh out of his final exams. No job, no money, no home. Inside, his father kept reading the newspaper as if nothing had happened. What Chidi didn't know then was that his mother would spend 3 years wondering if he was dead. That his father would one day beg for his forgiveness, not out of love, but out of desperation. And that the boy they threw away would become the man they would one day need. This is the story of how a family destroyed their son. 6-year-old Chidi sat at the small dining table in his family's house, watching his mother serve dinner. His stomach was growling with hunger. He had not eaten anything since the small breakfast of bread and tea that morning. Mama Okafor placed a large plate of jollof rice in front of Obinna, Chidi's younger brother who was only 4 years old. The rice was piled high on the plate, steam rising from it. On top of the rice sat a big piece of chicken, the thigh, the best part, and some fried plantains on the side. "Eat well, my precious Obinna," Mama said, smiling down at her younger son. "You need plenty of food so you can grow strong and intelligent." Obinna smiled back at his mother, his face bright with joy. He picked up his spoon and began to eat happily. Then Mama turned to Chidi. She placed a small plate in front of him. The portion of rice was tiny, barely enough for a child. There was no chicken, no meat at all. Just a small piece of dried fish that looked like it had been sitting in the pot for days, and no plantain. "Here is your food, Chidi," Mama said, her voice flat, with no warmth in it. "Eat quickly, and go to bed. You have school tomorrow." Chidi looked at his small plate, then at Obinna's large plate. His stomach hurt from hunger, but he said nothing. He had learned, even at 6 years old, that complaining made things worse. "Mama, why does Obinna get chicken and I get only fish?" he asked quietly. Mama's face hardened. "Because Obinna is doing very well in nursery school. His teacher says he is the smartest child in the class. He needs good food for his brain. You are just average. You do not need so much food." "But Mama, I am hungry." "Hungry?" Mama interrupted, her voice sharp. "You should be grateful you have food at all. Some children have nothing to eat. Now stop complaining and eat what you have been given." Chidi ate his small portions slowly, trying to make it last longer, but it was finished too quickly, and his stomach was still empty. He watched Obinna eat his chicken, laughing and talking with their mother, while Chidi sat in silence. This was dinner in the Okafor house. Every single night, the same pattern. Obinna would get the big plate, the best meat, the loving words. Chidi would get the small plate, the leftover fish, and the cold silence. Papa Okafor sat at the head of the table, reading his newspaper and eating his own food. He saw everything but said nothing. To him, this was normal. This was fair. Obinna was special, and special children deserved special treatment. After dinner, when Mama was washing dishes, Chidi went to his small room, the room he shared with Obinna. Well, it used to be his room alone, but when Obinna was born, Papa said they must share it to save space. The room had one bed and one mattress on the floor. Obinna slept on the bed, soft and comfortable with a thick mattress and warm blankets. Chidi slept on the thin mattress on the floor, with a worn sheet that had holes in it. "Brother Chidi," Obinna called from the bed, "can you tell me a story?" Despite everything, Chidi loved his little brother. It was not Obinna's fault that their parents favored him. Obinna was just a child who did not understand why he got everything while his older brother got nothing. "Okay," Chidi said, sitting on the edge of Obinna's bed. "What kind of story do you want to hear?" Well. Tell me about the tortoise who was very clever," Obinna said, his eyes bright with excitement. So Chidi told him a folk tale about a tortoise who used his intelligence to overcome bigger, stronger animals. As he told the story, he thought about how he wished he could be like that tortoise, smart enough to change his situation, clever enough to earn his parents' love. But he was just 6 years old. and he did not know how to make his parents see him as valuable. He only knew how to survive each day, eating his small portions, wearing his torn clothes, and trying not to cry when he heard Mama telling Obinna how special and wonderful he was. 5 years later, Chidi is now 11 years old. Things had not gotten better, they had gotten worse. Chidi was in primary 5 now, and his report card showed that he was 38th position out of 40 students in his class. He had tried so hard this term. He had studied every night by the light of a small candle in his corner of the room. He had memorized his multiplication tables, practiced his English spelling, and done all his homework carefully. But it was not enough. It was never enough. Obinna, who was now 9 years old and in primary 3, had come first in his class. Again. He always came first. The teachers loved him. His handwriting was perfect. His English was excellent. His mathematics was outstanding. He was everything a parent could dream of. The day they brought their report cards home, Mama was waiting for them in the living room. "Let me see," she said excitedly, reaching for Obinna's report card first. She did not even look at Chidi. She opened Obinna's report card, and her face lit up like the sun. "First position, again. Oh, my precious son, you are so brilliant, so intelligent. Come here, let me hug you." She pulled Obinna into a tight embrace, covering his face with kisses. "Your father will be so proud of you. We will celebrate tonight. I will cook your favorite food and buy you a special treat from the market." Then she turned to Chidi, and her smile disappeared immediately. "Where is your report card?" Chidi handed it to her with shaking hands. He already knew what would happen, but he always hoped, that maybe this time would be different. Mama opened his report card and her face twisted with anger and disgust. 38th position? 38th out of 40? Chidi, what is wrong with you? How can you and Obinna be from the same family but be so different? Mama, I tried hard this term. I really did. Tried hard? She interrupted, her voice rising. If you tried hard, you would not be almost last in your class. Look at your brother. He studies and he comes first. You study and you come 38th. Maybe the problem is that you are just not intelligent enough. The words cut through Chidi like a knife. Not intelligent enough. He had heard these words so many times that they had become part of how he saw himself. I am sorry, Mama, he whispered, his head down, tears threatening to fall. Sorry does not bring good grades, she said coldly. When your father comes home and sees this report card, he will be very angry with you. You are embarrassing this family. That night, when Papa Okafor came home from work, the dinner scene was even more painful than usual. Obinna sat beside Papa, basking in praise and attention. Papa had bought him a new storybook as a reward for coming first in his class. This is my son, Papa declared proudly, patting Obinna on the head. This one will become a doctor or a lawyer one day. He will make our family proud. Then Papa looked at Chidi, who was sitting quietly at the other end of the table with his small plate of food. And you, Papa said, his voice heavy with disappointment. What will you become? With grades like this, you will be lucky to finish secondary school. Maybe you should just learn a trade, become a carpenter or mechanic. It is clear that academics are not for you. Chidi felt like his heart was being squeezed in someone's fist. He wanted to tell Papa that he loved school, that he tried his best, that he just needed help and encouragement. But the words stuck in his throat. Yes, Papa, he said quietly, because that was the only safe response. After dinner, while Obinna sat in the living room with their parents watching television and eating biscuits, Chidi was sent to bed early. He lay on his thin mattress on the floor, listening to his brother's laughter mixing with his parents' voices, and he cried silently into his pillow. Why was he not good enough? What was wrong with him? Why did parents look at Obinna and see everything wonderful, but look at him and see only disappointment? These questions would haunt him for years, eating away at his self-worth like termites eating wood from the inside. 2 years later, Chidi is now 13 years old. If food and school were bad, clothing was even worse. Chidi stood in front of the small mirror in his room, looking at the shirt he was wearing. It had been Obina's shirt 2 years ago. Now, it was too small for Obina, so it had been given to Chidi. The shirt had 3 buttons missing. There was a stain on the front that would not wash out no matter how hard Chidi scrubbed it. The collar was frayed and torn. One sleeve was shorter than the other because it had ripped and Mama had cut it to make it even. This was what Chidi wore to school. Torn, stained, 2 small hand-me-downs from his younger brother. Meanwhile, Obina had 3 new school uniforms, AENs, crisp, clean, perfectly fitted. He had new shoes that were shiny and black. He had new socks, new underwear, new everything. "Mama, can I have a new school uniform?" Chidi had asked once, gathering all his courage. "This one is very old and torn." The other children laugh at me. Mama had looked at him like he had asked for the moon. "New uniform? Do you know how much money costs? Your father works hard for his salary, and we cannot waste it on unnecessary things." But Obina has 3 new uniforms. Obina needs new uniforms because he is growing and he represents this family well in school, Mama snapped. He is always first in his class. His teachers praise him. The school is proud to have him. But you come 38th, 37th, sometimes 39th. Why should we waste money buying you new uniforms when you are not even making us proud? Chidi had no answer to that. In his parents' eyes, love and resources were things you earned through achievement. And since he could not achieve the way Obina did, he did not deserve new clothes. The other children at school noticed, of course. Children always notice these things. "Chidi, why is your shirt so torn?" one boy asked loudly in class one day, making sure everyone could hear. "Cannot your parents afford to buy you new clothes?" The class laughed. Even the teacher looked at Chidi with pity in her eyes, but she said nothing. Chidi's face burned with shame. He wanted to disappear, to melt into the floor, to be anywhere but in that classroom wearing his torn shirt while everyone laughed at him. From that day, he started walking to school alone, taking the long route through back streets where fewer people would see him. He would arrive at school just as the bell rang, so he would not have to stand in the compound where everyone could see his clothes clearly. And he would rush home immediately after school, before anyone could walk with him and ask questions about why his clothes were so old and torn. Shame became his constant companion. Shame about his clothes, shame about his grades, shame about being the son his parents did not love. Age 15, the birthday that never was. It was Chidi's 15th birthday on a Saturday in March. He woke up that morning with a small hope in his heart. Maybe, just maybe, this year his parents would remember. Maybe they would wish him happy birthday. Maybe they would make his favorite food or buy him a small gift. He came out of his room and went to the living room where his parents were having breakfast. "Good morning, Mama. Good morning, Papa," he said, waiting to see if they would acknowledge the day. "Morning," Papa said, without looking up from his newspaper. "Morning. Go and sweep the compound," Mama said, focused on her food. They had forgotten. Again. Chidi went outside and began sweeping the compound, his eyes blurring with tears. He was not even asking for a party or expensive gifts. Just a happy birthday would have been enough. Just to know that they remembered the day he was born and were glad he existed. But to them, March 12th was just another ordinary day. Nothing special. Nothing to celebrate. Later that afternoon, Mama came outside with a bag of groceries. "I am going to prepare a special dinner tonight," she announced. "Tomorrow is Obina's birthday, so we will celebrate tonight so that Sunday we can go to church and thank God for him." Obina's birthday was March 13th, one day after Chidi's. But while Chidi's birthday passed without notice, Obina's birthday was always a big celebration. That evening, Mama cooked rice, chicken, moin moin, and salad. She baked a small cake, not a fancy one from a bakery, but she had tried to make one herself. The house smelled wonderful. Relatives came over, uncles, aunties, cousins. They brought gifts for Obina wrapped in colorful paper. They sang happy birthday loudly while Obina grinned and blew out the candles on his cake. "Our brilliant boy," Uncle Tunde said, ruffling Obina's hair. 13 years old and already a genius. This family is blessed to have you. Chidi sat in the corner of the room, watching the celebration. He was invisible. No one asked him how he was. No one acknowledged that his birthday had been just yesterday. No one seemed to even see him. He ate a small plate of the celebration food, the leftovers after everyone else had been served, and then went to his room. He lay on his mattress on the floor and stared at the ceiling. I wish I had never been born, he thought. Then maybe they would be happier. Maybe they would not be disappointed all the time. These were dark thoughts for a 5-year-old boy. But when you spend your entire childhood being treated as less than, being ignored and forgotten, those dark thoughts start to feel true. Chidi did not know it then, but these painful experiences were building something inside him. Not just pain and bitterness, but also strength and resilience. He was learning to survive without love, without validation, without support. He was learning to depend only on himself. And one day, those lessons would save his life. The breaking point came when Chidi was 17 years old, in his final year of secondary school. His English teacher, Mr. Johnson, had organized a school play, and surprisingly, Chidi had been chosen to play an important role. Not the main character, that went to one of the popular students, but a significant supporting role. Mr. Johnson had seen something in Chidi that others missed. You have good expression when you read, Mr. Johnson told him. You understand emotions. You will do well in this role. For the first time in years, Chidi felt excited about something. He practiced his lines every day. He worked hard during rehearsals. He wanted to do well, to prove that he could be good at something, even if it was not academics. The school play was scheduled for a Friday evening, and all parents were invited to attend. Mama, Papa, Chidi said at dinner one evening, his heart pounding with nervousness. There is a school play next Friday. I have an important role. Will you come and watch? Papa looked up from his food. A play? What is the point of that? Plays do not bring good grades. But Papa, it is an important school event. All the parents will be there. Then let them be there. Papa interrupted. I have a meeting that day. I cannot waste time watching school plays. Chidi turned to his mother desperately. Mama, please, can you come? Mama sighed as if he had asked her to climb a mountain. Chidi, I have too much work to do. The shop needs me. I cannot just close the shop to come and watch you stand on a stage. Please, Mama, just this once. I really want you to see me perform. We will see, Mama said in that tone that meant no, but wanted to avoid an argument. The day of the play arrived. Chidi stood backstage, peering through the curtain at the audience. The school hall was full of parents, all dressed nicely, carrying flowers and gifts for their children. He searched the crowd desperately for his mother's face, his father's face,
any family member. But they were not there. His seat, the one that had been reserved for families, sat empty. The play began. Despite his heartbreak, Chidi performed well. He delivered his lines with emotion and clarity. When his scene was over, the audience clapped loudly. After the play, all the other students rushed to their parents for hugs and congratulations. Chidi stood alone backstage, watching through a gap in the curtain. Mr. Johnson found him there, sitting by himself in the darkness. Chidi, you did wonderfully tonight. Where are your parents? I wanted to congratulate them on having such a talented son. They could not come, Chidi said, trying to keep his voice steady. They were busy. Mr. Johnson's face softened with understanding and pity. He had taught in that school for 20 years. He had seen many students like Chidi, bright children overlooked by their families, talented young people whose parents could not see their worth. Their loss, Mr. Johnson said quietly, putting a hand on Chidi's shoulder. You were excellent tonight. Be proud of yourself, even if they cannot be proud of you. Those words stayed with Chidi. Be proud of yourself, even if they cannot be proud of you. It was the first time an adult had told him that his worth was not dependent on his parents' approval. It was a small seed of truth planted in his heart, though it would take years for that seed to grow. That night, Chidi walked home alone in the dark. When he arrived, his parents were already asleep. They never asked how the play went. They never mentioned it at all. And Chidi realized something that night. He would never matter to them. No matter what he did, no matter how hard he tried, he would always be the unwanted son, the disappointing child, the one who did not deserve their love. This realization hurt worse than all the hungry nights and torn clothes combined. But it also freed him in a way. If he would never be good enough for them, then he could stop trying. He could stop hoping. He could start preparing for the day when he would have to survive without them. That day came sooner than he expected. Age 18, the day everything changed. It was a Thursday afternoon in June. Chidi had just finished his final secondary school exams. He was not confident about how he had done. He had studied hard, but mathematics and science had always been difficult for him. He walked home slowly, dreading the day when results would come and his parents would compare his scores to whatever excellent grades Obinna would surely get. But when he turned onto his street, he saw something that made his heart stop. There, in the dusty road in front of his house, was a pile of belongings. Old clothes, worn shoes, a few textbooks, a thin mattress, a pillow with the stuffing coming out. His belongings. Neighbors were standing outside their houses, watching and whispering to each other. Some looked curious. Some looked shocked. A few looked at him with pity. Chidi's legs felt weak as he walked toward his house. His mind could not process what he was seeing. Why were his things outside? Had there been a fire? Had something happened to the house? He walked into the compound and found his mother sweeping the veranda as if it was just a normal day. "Mama?" His voice came out small and scared. "Why are my things outside?" Mama continued sweeping without looking at him. "Your father will explain." Papa Okafor was inside, sitting in his usual chair, reading the newspaper. Obinna was in the compound examining some wooden frames and chicken wire, measuring spaces with a tape measure. "Papa, why are my things outside in the road?" Chidi asked, his voice shaking. Papa looked up from his newspaper with an expression of mild annoyance, as if Chidi was a fly buzzing around his head. "Oh, Chidi, we were going to tell you. Your brother needs your room for his school project." The words did not make sense at first. Chidi's mind was spinning, trying to understand. My room? I do not understand. What school project? I have an important practical project for my agricultural science exam. Obinna explained, not even looking up from his measurements. I need to rear chickens and document their growth over 6 months. Your room has the best space for building the chicken coop because it has good ventilation and direct sunlight. Chidi looked from Obinna to his parents, waiting for someone to laugh, to say this was a joke, to tell him of course he was not losing his room to chickens. But no one was laughing. "So, where will I sleep?" Chidi asked, and he hated how small and childish his voice sounded. Papa folded his newspaper with an air of finality. "You are 18 now, Chidi. You finished secondary school. You are a man. It is time for you to be independent and sort yourself out." "Sort myself out?" Chidi repeated. "What does that mean?" "It means you find work, find your own place to stay. Make your own life," Papa said, as if this was the most reasonable thing in the world. "Your brother still has 2 more years of secondary school. His education must not be interrupted. But you are done with school. This is a natural time for you to move forward with your life." Chidi felt like the ground was disappearing beneath his feet. "But Papa, I have nowhere to go. I have no money. That is for you to figure out." Papa interrupted, his voice becoming harder. "You are an adult now. Adults find solutions to their problems. We have raised you for 18 years. We have fed you, clothed you, sent you to school. Now it is time for you to stand on your own." "You are sending me away?" Chidi asked, and tears were forming in his eyes now, though he tried desperately to hold them back. "You are throwing me out of the house?" "We are not throwing you out," Mama said, finally stopping her sweeping but still not looking at him. "We are helping you become independent. This is for your own good." "For my own good?" Chidi's voice rose with disbelief and pain. "How is putting me on the street with nowhere to go for my own good?" "Do not be dramatic," Papa said dismissively. "You will figure something out. Find work. Rent a room somewhere. That is what adults do." "But I have no money for rent. How will I eat? Where will I sleep tonight?" "That," Papa said coldly, "is your problem to solve. You are 18. Be responsible." Chidi looked at his mother one more time, desperately hoping that she would say something different, that maternal instinct would kick in and she would defend her child. But Mama just turned away and continued sweeping as if her firstborn son was not standing there being thrown out of his home. Chidi walked outside in a daze. He looked at his belongings scattered on the road. Everything he owned in the world, and it all fit into 2 plastic bags and 1 small box. Neighbors were still watching. An old woman named Mama Chinyere, who lived 3 houses down, came up to him. Her eyes were filled with tears. "Chidi, my son, I am so sorry," she whispered. She pressed some naira notes into his hand-folded bills that fell damp from her hands. "This is all I have today. It is 200 naira. May God go with you and open doors for you." Chidi looked at the money in his hand, 200 naira, which was barely enough for 2 meals. But it was more kindness than his own family had shown him. "Thank you, Ma," he managed to say, his voice breaking. He gathered his belongings, the 2 plastic bags and the small box. Everything he had accumulated in 18 years of life. As he prepared to walk away, he heard his father's voice call from inside the house. "Chidi, when you make something of yourself, do not forget your family." The words were like a slap. They expected him to fail, but if by some miracle he succeeded, they wanted him to remember them. They wanted him to come back and take care of them after they had thrown him away. Chidi did not respond. He could not speak because if he opened his mouth, he would either scream or sob, and he refused to give them the satisfaction of seeing him completely broken. He walked away from the only home he had ever known, carrying his plastic bags and his box, with 200 naira in his pocket, and his heart shattered into 1,000 pieces. Behind him, he could hear Obinna calling to his parents. "Papa, Mama, come and see. I have finished measuring the space for the chicken coop. It will be perfect for the project." They were already forgetting him. Already moving on with their lives as if the son they had raised for 18 years had never existed. Chidi walked through the streets of Surler as the sun began to set, painting the sky orange and red. He did not know where he was going. He did not know where he would sleep that night. He did not know how he would survive tomorrow. But he knew one thing with absolute certainty: the family that had rejected him would one day regret their choice. He did not know how. He did not know when. But somewhere deep inside, a small flame of determination was beginning to burn. They had wanted to get rid of him. They had wanted him gone. Fine. He was gone. But one day he would come back. Not as the forgotten son, but as someone they could never forget. This was not the end of Chidi's story. This was the beginning.